On the line, we have David Leyonhjelm, who is Senator-elect of the Liberal Democratic Party, and he'll be a very influential person in the Senate come July 1. Thanks for joining us, David.
Hi, Miranda.
Now, I was interested in a piece that you wrote in the Financial Review during the week, which offered an alternative way of dealing with economic refugees. And I think you say that we still have a humanitarian option for genuine refugees, but then we actually capitalise on these people who have been trying to seek a better life in Australia, coming by boat, paying people smugglers vast sums and risking their lives. And I think you say that these people would be worthwhile migrants because they've shown they've had some get up and go. So tell us what your idea is.
Okay, it's based on a proposal by the Nobel Prize winner Gary Becker, who suggested in the context of the United States and the UK immigration, he said that countries like the UK and the US should charge for people to become residents in that country. You set a fee based on how many you want, and then everybody who can pay the fee is allowed in. It's not an open-ended thing, because obviously if you don't want as many as appears you're going to get, then you put the fee up, so there's fewer people who will pay it. But the idea is that you can pay the fee, you come to the country, you know jolly well that you're going to have to work to make the fee justifiable. Also, an important part of the method is that those people coming into under that process aren't eligible for welfare, so they have to work. So then it becomes an economic equation. We also concerned that using the Navy to stop illegal immigrants is very expensive, and it's a misuse of the Navy. It's not what navies are there for. And we could save that money, or a lot of it, by charging these people to come in through the front door. So we would save money based on what the Navy is doing, and we would also make money by charging people for coming in. So,
yeah, a figure that you floated in your article was around $50,000 per person, and you're saying that would raise about $10 to $15 billion annually for the government.
Yes. Yes, we're already charging. We're kind of already charging people to come into the country. There's the significant investor visa program, which is if you invest, I don't know whether it's $1.5 or $2.5 million dollars in government bonds, you can get permanent residence. The problem with that is, of course, that it's still the immigrants' money, and so what we're saying is you hand the money over to the government to get residence. You're not eligible for welfare, and you still control the numbers that are coming in based on the price you set.
Mm. Look, it's an interesting idea. Have you floated it with the government?
Oh, I haven't been able to float very much with the government.
Well, that's a story. What have they not been talking to you and schmoozing you in preparation for your influential role that you'll have as one of the crossbenchers after July 1?
Not very much. We've had a couple of get-to-know-you type meetings. I met the Prime Minister on Friday, but no, it's been pretty much long-distance communication.
What about Labor? Have they approached you?
Yes, they have. In fact, the Labor Party is very approachable. In comparison to the Liberal Party, the Labor Party is very approachable. There are policy differences, probably more policy differences with Labor than there are with the Liberals on pretty much on everything. But in terms of approachability, general open door, willing to chat, Labor's excellent, actually.
And are you surprised by that, the fact that the coalition really hasn't been massaging you?
No, I think there's a cultural difference between Labor and the coalition. If you go back to the Gillard government days, when there was a bit of a contest to win Oakshott and Windsor over to either side, Labor beat them and got them over in spite of the fact that both of them came from Conservative electorates. If you look at the recent South Australian election, when it could have gone either way with two independents, Labor got them across, and now we've had a former Liberal leader change sides to Labor. I think Labor is just more accustomed to dealing with minor parties and non-Labor people, within the Labor Party itself, they're used to negotiation because they rarely agree with each other internally, let alone externally. So
now, what's your approach to the budget? Are there measures in there that you approve of, and other measures that you just would not touch with a barge pole?
Yes. Well, as you said in your introduction, I'm a Libertarian, so that's low taxes, less regulation, small government in general. So there are some tax increases, the increase in fuel levy and the wealth tax, which I'd never vote for. In the carbon tax repeal process, there is one bill, which is the reversal of a tax cut. And I won't be voting for that because it's effectively a tax increase. So the general principle is I'll vote for reduced taxes, I'll never vote for an increase in taxes, and I'll never vote for a reduction in liberty.
Now, Bob Day, who is another independent from South Australia, he shares a lot of your views about small government and low taxes. Have you formed a sort of an alliance with him?
Yes. It's not a formal alliance. We don't have anything on paper or anything like that. It's just that we are very similar in many respects. He's the same age as me. He has a long history with his own business, the same as I do. On economic issues, he is almost identical to my position. We really don't need to discuss things, to be quite frank. We just come to the same conclusion based on our principles. Social issues are a different matter, but I'm delighted to have an ally in Bob. And
what about the other senators? Can you see of the other crossbenchers, the 8 crossbenchers, who of those do you think that you could form an alliance with?
It's probably best if I don't speculate too much on that, because my contact with them all has been fairly limited to date. John Madigan, DLP senator from Victoria, is good on a small number of issues as far as policies are concerned, and he is a straight shooter and a decent guy. There are a small number of issues where I think we could probably work with Nick Xenophon. The Palmer people depends on whether they are dealing with these issues or dealing with issues as a group or individually. I think in the first instance they will be working as a group, and it will depend a great deal on whether what conclusions they've come to. I suspect over time that may not be the case.
You mean that over time Clive will lose his control over them?
Yes, well, there's nothing really binding them together, no philosophical foundations such as there is on economic matters between me and Bob Day. Why would they come to the same position on things when their starting positions are so different? I've met 3 of them. Bob's met 4, if you include Ricky Muir. I haven't met D.O. Wang myself, but Bob has. And they're quite different individuals. None of them is stupid. They're all got their own minds.
Jackie Lambie seemed pretty dumb when she was on 7:30 Report the other night saying that we should tax the banks and that would somehow save the budget.
Yes, it was a bit of an interesting thing. I think she probably, when she's under pressure, she says things that maybe she doesn't necessarily intend. They come out different from what she means. Time will tell. I don't know how that will play out.
Well, look, thanks so much for talking to us, David Leyonhjelm, and looking forward to your contributions to the Senate. It'll be very interesting.
Thank you very much.